Today, I'm joined by Yolonda Ross, the seven-season anchor behind Jada on The Shy, and now stepping behind the camera to make her episodic directing debut with episode 3 of season 8, airing June 5. Yolanda, it's so great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
So let's dive in. You've already lived with Jada for 7 seasons now. What do you understand about her at this point that isn't even written anymore? It's the things that you're carrying instinctively before a scene even begins.
Oh man. Yeah, Jada is such a part of me. Um, it's the weight and kind of the I want to say weariness, but yeah, all that she's been through as a single mother, raising a boy, keeping him alive, and seeing him flourish now. And getting, I guess, the love of her life back as her husband now. There's just all these things that, from the beginning of the show where you're just trying to, like I was saying, keep this boy alive, keep him moving forward. Don't let him get caught up in a bunch of crap that can happen. And then being on the other side of that, where she was a mother at first. She's still a mother, but now she gets to be a woman and gets to kind of fulfill some of her own, dreams that she wanted. So there's all of that, and just knowing that she's a common sense woman.
Yeah, and like she's been through a lot. I feel like she's really in a good place as we embark on this season, which is really good for her, but also for you. And then you step into directing, and I'm wondering what felt immediately familiar and what made you go, "Oh, this is a completely new muscle for me."
Well, but when I first got the job in the Shy, I came from independent film. So I had already, as an actor, had started going into directing. And then I got the show. So it was one of those things where, you then kind of sit that down for a second because now you're a series regular on a show, and what does that entail? What does that take out of you? What do you have to put into that? So it was sort of like I kind of set the directing thing down a little bit, even though I did shadow on the show at the beginning. Um, it was focusing on these stories. Where's Jada going? What's happening with the show? But then as my character, expired as of season 7, it was like, okay, now I can pick the directing back up. And I got the opportunity to direct on the show. So it yeah, it was really a full circle moment for me to get to do this. And I completely forgot what the question was again. I
Well, it's
started
more like,
sort of
yeah,
like,
you get into the directors. I mean, obviously, you've had experience in this industry for a long time, but on this show, you're finally on the other side of the camera. What was the immediate reaction when you sat down and thought, "Oh, okay, this is something new for me"?
yes. Okay. So with this show in particular, you know these characters. You know them from the beginning. You know where this show started in the beginning. You know all the things that they have gone through. And I also know the actors playing them. So it was very exciting in a way of knowing everything that they've done these 7 seasons. And then what can I add to it? What can I help push them to or get them to? Um, that was very exciting to me to if possible in whatever scenes they had to be able to allow them to do something different or push in a way that they hadn't got to or felt comfortable enough to do before or with another director. And I feel that because they know me as an actor, they know my background, that they felt comfortable enough to give other colors and do other things. So yeah, it was exciting. It was exciting.
That's nice. I'm always fascinated by actor directors because you know what it feels like on the other side of the lens. So then, what's one directing choice you made specifically because you've spent years being directed on the show and you know what might get the best out of the actors?
Um, Well, for each actor, it's very different. Definitely not over talking, being collaborative with them. And also then giving what I'm thinking, give them my point of view, what I'm trying to get as the director, so that they understand where I'm coming from. Because that's another thing. It's like sometimes people tell you to do things and it's just sort of like, but wait, that doesn't make sense. But why would I, because I know this character, da da da. And if you let an actor know what it is you're attempting to do, because it could, be something that is a visual thing, not having to do with their character necessarily, but we need you to get from point A to point B, not like, because you're doing this, this, or that, but it's a whole big orchestrated thing. So, just explaining what it is you want to get and why you want to get it. I think that's a big thing. And then also, talking to certain actors about things and not letting the other actor in the scene know, so that you can get a real response out of them. Because I know I did that with one of them, and it was very interesting to see, because sometimes we as actors, we do a scene and we can get kind of stuck doing the same response.
Mm.
But if, me as the director am not seeing what I need, maybe telling them might not be able to, you might still not be able to get it. But if something physical or, something like that can just jolt you out of like your comfort zone, it's like, oh, and then there it is. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. When you're directing your castmates, what, like you're guiding actors, you've been in it with, for 7 seasons. What gets easier because of the trust, and what gets more complicated because the dynamic has shifted?
Um, in this case, I didn't feel any complications. I didn't feel any complications at all. And um, what I felt from everybody, including crew, was the want to give, the want to please, to grow, to do the thing that I, as the director, am trying to accomplish. So, it was so collaborative, and everybody was so supportive.
Mhm.
It really hit my heart, like that everybody was on board. Not that I thought there was going to be any like tension or anything, but when
Right.
you hear and sincerely see it from people, it's like, it's very warming. It's very heartwarming. So, um, I didn't have any negatives, didn't have any
It's
pushback.
it sounds like a really loving and caring cast. Like that's half the battle,
And
and
true.
you walk on that set, on a different show, you may have had those complications, and thankfully,
Um,
especially for your debut, it's pretty good.
exactly. Because you can't assume, because yeah, people can surprise you sometimes, because
Oh
just
yeah.
heard things, and I wasn't, I'm coming to work, so I'm not coming to be anybody's friend. I'm coming to do the job and do it very well. So that's really how I was doing it. But I mean, these people I do care about, and I do want the very best for them. So, me as being the director, I can say they were getting, like, I'm going to bring the best no matter what, but there's a certain level of care, and um, I just really wanted the best for this cast, this crew.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the next job, I'm going to still give you everything, but I'm not invested in the same way, because I didn't spend 7 years on another set. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
right. These are your people, and
Yeah.
that's how it works. That's how it works. Um, so then, after years of being directed on the show, I just wonder, for your own directorial style, do you find yourself naturally leaning into certain approaches that you've loved as an actor over the years?
Um, I don't know necessarily from other directors. I know for myself, I work a certain way, and I feel like my acting is like my directing, and maybe they're just the same, because that's how my mind works. Anybody that's worked opposite me, it's like they know that I kind of direct a scene between us. It's like, hey, yeah, I like to rehearse, and it's like, I'm thinking this, like, what if, and she does this and that, it's like I'm already thinking that way, like a director when I'm working and looking at the whole space and thinking about where the character has come from, what's going on between them. So, I mean, this whole thing as a director was a natural progression, but I just like to be able to have options, to be able to give options as far as like how we approach something, how like responses, because, when you start editing, if you have something that looks the same every single time,
Yeah.
it doesn't give you a lot of options to edit with. So, I try to, as an actor, have different responses or us do a little something different to get a different something out of me. And, and I tried to do that as a director as well, because, these actors know their characters inside and out. So
Yeah.
if you feel your guy or your girl is going to do this kind of thing, well, okay, we got that. We got those, versions of it. Let's
Yeah.
like, what if he puts his hand on her in front of in front of this dude? It's like, well, he wouldn't do that. Really? Let's try it and see. Let's get one. And like see how that feels. See what that looks like. Wow. And
Yeah.
it's stretch it. Go another direction to see if there's something there. But you have those options because I mean, I plan. So, we're going to get what we need, but then let's see what the other options are, see if it feels right, see what it looks like. And, maybe it's not. Okay, we find
Yeah.
that out.
Yeah. You
You know,
need the ingredients. We need all the ingredients to go into the soup, which is, and soup by soup, I mean post. And
no,
yeah, and that's what
exactly.
you're doing. This is a question of more for your role as a director, but also from your perspective as an actor. When you're witnessing a really committed performance from an actor in a particularly emotional scene, how do you tend to collaborate and provide guidance or guardrails without compromising the intensity and raw emotion?
Um, well, you definitely don't talk while people are working. You know, to me, with directing anything, it really is just sort of being specific about what the guidance is,
Mhm.
specificity, because, when people are getting emotional, you want to get everything out before they start that. Let them go, have their time alone, their time to get what they need. Because, we don't just turn on emotions. You know what I mean? It's like I'm always fascinated when people want you to do like emotional acrobatics, and it's like, well, how do you think you get from this to this? Like it doesn't just happen, Like there's things that happen in here and here that get you there. So allow them that space and that time, and that's even within the day of scheduling. If there's something
Yeah.
heavy, make sure you're not like loading up a day with a bunch of stuff to shoot. Like, make sure you're giving them time to get these things out because, it's not just getting to the emotional state. If somebody's crying and stuff is happening, you have to reset this. You know what I mean? Make
Wow.
it up again, clean it up, and then start it over again. You don't want to take somebody through something a bunch of times that is wiping them out in a day.
That is I've never really thought of it that way, but that makes so much sense. Of course, this sounds so complicated. It's such a delicate, fine lines and a balance that you are doing to ensure not only are you getting what you need, you're telling the story, you're meeting the vision that Lena wants for the show, but you're also ensuring that, the technical stuff, the scheduling, that how the day is going to look. You're the master of ceremonies. And on that side of things, on the technical side of things, what did you find that was most interesting that you maybe didn't quite appreciate that you learned on this particular project?
I did not know, and I was excited to learn it all, just how many meetings there are.
Really?
Woo! that you can literally have a full day of just meetings.
Oh my God.
And I mean, as an actor, you see certain people, on the set, there's a bunch of people doing a bunch of things. And you're like, okay, yeah, I know my lines. I know to go there. I know this. I know the DP. I know, certain things. But then when you are literally from scratch building a scene from a blank space, because, in my particular case, not all of these sets were already in place. So it's like
Mhm.
building a set, building a scene for people to then come into and act like they've been in there before and, do their thing. And, that it's very interesting because you learn everybody's job is what you learn. You learn
Yeah.
everybody's job and people that you just never come across because I don't go on tech scouts. I don't do this as an actor, but as the director, you're looking at everything.
Wow. I mean, just to me, that sounds like such a rich experience for you because you've got so much background. You've lived and breathed the show for such a long time, but now you've seen another side to it. Am I right in saying that this has really expanded and really made your experience on the show all the richer because you've been able to see both sides of the camera?
Yes, so much more richer. I mean, yeah, just so much more because I mean, the only things that I had done that were, you know, to this extent were things that I made myself, like my own films, my own shorts. So, you're doing everything. So it
Yeah,
doesn't feel the same, but when it's a thing outside of yourself, I think that's very interesting to learn all the parts to it and who does all the different parts and, even a piece of art that's within a set, like who does that? And then, having
yeah,
to licensing for a piece of art or, getting something signed off, just all these different things. Like, when it's
wow,
not yours, it's very interesting to learn it all.
for sure. The show's I think it's a real love letter to Chicago. It always feels very lived in rather than just observed. And as a first time director on the series, but also just in terms of the creative team generally, what are the specific things that the creative team on the show are watching for to preserve that neighborhood texture and authenticity?
Well, I mean, I know there's a lot of people hired from Chicago, to keep it real, to keep it sounding real. And locations, using the city to,
Mm,
keep that real. So it's, it's all the parts, they want to just make sure they touch everything to make sure it's Chicago authentic.
yeah. And what about your relationship with Lena Waithe? Like, I wonder what you most value about that collaboration with her, especially when you have the opportunity to carry part of the story and tone from behind the camera yourself.
The opportunity, yeah, the opportunity to grow, the opportunity to grow.
Yeah. And what about if we look past the shy, you're stepping
Mm-hmm.
into this next phase of your career as a director, filmmaker, with projects like Scenes from Our Marriage. Um, what kinds of stories are you most drawn to right now? And what can you express behind the camera that you maybe couldn't just express as an actor alone?
Well, for me, and I think this is with a lot of actors, directors, you get into it a lot of times because you're not doing enough as an actor. I know all the things that I can do as an actor, and the opportunities are not there. They're just not there. I mean, Jada was a specific character, but she does not embody everything that I can do. I've had opportunities to do a lot of things in my career, but they're small bits in other people's projects. And to know that I write, to know that I direct, I have a voice. I have a voice that isn't this director or that director. It's not that writer. It's not that writer. It's mine. And I see things a certain way. And I feel with my acting, you can see what I do, but then to have it amplified in a way through directing where you're then creating the whole world, your tone, your vision is not then cut up by somebody else with editing or their what they see on it. It's not through somebody else's filter, it's through yours. So with saying that, it's like I can do all these things, and it's time to then get these stories that I have created out there, because I'm not a writer that just writes to like, oh, this is what's happening in entertainment, let me write a
Yeah.
let me write a horror movie because that's what's selling.
It's
Brain
in
doesn't
now. Yeah.
work that. Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
No.
I see things like I'm a Black woman, so for me, there's a lot of stuff missing out there. There's a lot of
Yeah.
versions of Black women missing out there. Black relationships missing out there. Things that I wrote are, I write them because I feel there's a need for them. I feel we need to see ourselves in a multitude of ways, not just the street way, the this way, or the that way, like three different ways or so that you see Black people. And then, a lot of the stuff that's out there right now is it's young people. Like I'm an adult, not this, not a young adult, like an adult. So it's like,
An adult adult.
I'm living.
Yeah.
It's like who's buying certain things, who's doing certain things, who's going to these movies. Like we're spending money. Like, why do we not see ourselves? You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just a certain way of living, because it's like I see how we live, I live a certain way, and I still don't see myself on screen, within characters that are out there.
Yeah.
So
Not enough. Not enough.
yeah,
We
definitely
need,
not.
yeah, we need all the colors of the rainbow. We need everybody on our TV screens and cinema screens. That just will make us all the more richer for it. I'm curious if you decide to do more episodic television and then of course film as you progress in your career. Are there any particular stories, maybe particularly about Black women, that you would really like to tell now that you think are really important, particularly in this day and age that we're living in, which seems very oppressive and angry and adversarial? Are you thinking about ways maybe to bring people together and learn about certain aspects of your own life or experience?
Well, I mean, I am a character driven person. Like I love those kinds of stories because I feel when you get into them, there's a specificity of the characters that comes through, instead of just like a big kind of generalized film, with, oh, it's this genre kind of thing or that. So I feel there are stories that, like for me, Scenes from My Marriage is a love gone wrong film about a Black couple on Broadway. We're there, we're there, things happen. And then how does that work when something goes wrong and you are a public figure? Is your private life these days ever really private? Not with phones around. So, it's like these kinds of questions, these kinds of things, and how people live. Not everybody is of a Beyonce kind of like, and Jay-Z kind of like level, and then
Yeah.
not everybody's in poverty. So not everybody lives in Brooklyn. It's like, or Harlem. It's like people live in different ways. I want to see those other ways. I want to see us in other countries. I want to just see us being. But I feel that's the kind of stories that I like to tell. Because I mean, I feel that's how I live, and that the people that I know, that's how we live. But I don't really see us just being on screen in that way.
Yeah.
It it's one of these things that I find interesting because of the business where we make things a lot of times because we're told this is what the distributors want and will put out.
Yeah.
So then these stories about people that I think are very interesting and needed don't get made because It's not a street story. It's not a this. It's not a that. It's not something that the distributors will find profitable. So it's harder than hell to get them made, even if it's a low budget. And then we end up not even making our own stories, really. We're making things to, lack of a better way of saying it, to sell to white people
Yeah,
because we're not distributing, you know, films.
yeah, yeah, for
We're not
sure.
putting them out.
We
So
need more of it. We just need more of
yeah,
it, and
we need to
that's
we need to support
and
our
you're
own.
leading the charge. You're leading the charge.
Right.
Um, So my final question's about this. We all get to a certain age. We start to feel a bit more comfortable in our skin. We start to understand our voice. We start to develop that confidence. Looking at this moment in your career as an actor, as a director, as a visual artist, as a philanthropist, what do you think has shifted in you because of your experience on The Shy and because of your desire to make more film and TV with your own voice?
Um, well, having these years on the shy has made it where, people know my name and face together. I feel like I had face recognition. And a lot of times, people didn't know or remember the things that they knew me from because a lot of times I look different in everything that I'm in. But they know me being Jada. They know Jada. And what Jada touched a lot of people. And being the person that she came through, I have touched a lot of people then. So that has given me I know I felt something like that before, but I really feel it on a whole different level, especially when, people just come up to you and talk to you about the stories, the storylines, and they feel like they connect. It lets me know I'm doing the right thing. And it means a lot to me to be bringing us to life in a way that people feel they feel seen.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Yolanda, such a generous look inside your directing debut on The Shy. It's so rare to hear someone describe the craft with this much clarity and love for the work. Thank you so much for talking us through it today. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.